Today I'm meeting Keri, who left a high-flying job in the city to become a yogini, and she has an interesting story to tell us. Hi Keri, how are you?
Hi, nice to
really
see you.
nice to be here.
Thanks for coming.
So tell me a little bit about your story and what motivated you to change your life so radically.
Wow, okay. So I've been working in corporate and consumer PR forever. Really, really love my job actually. I was actually working for Nando's, running their corporate PR, consumer PR. I travelled all over the world. It was really good, and I did a lot with music. So I ran their music strategy. I did a lot of stuff with emerging artists. Worked with the Roundhouse. Went to loads of festivals.
So that sounds really interesting. It sounds like a fantastic career.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing.
So what was that turning point?
Well, I guess I'd been there a long time, and all things change. So it was sort of, things were changing, people were coming in, coming out, and I kind of felt like it was a really nice culture that if I didn't sort of make a step forward, do something different, I'd been there for the rest of my life. So there was that, and I just wanted to do something different, and I really got into yoga, and yoga was something that I never ever thought I would do.
Really? So you started when did you start yoga?
So I maybe started practicing maybe 6 years ago, and before then I exercise a lot, love exercise. I used to do HIIT and boxing, go to the gym all the time, and the nearest I got to yoga was Pilates. So that's what I
So were you one of those people that used to think that yoga isn't exercise, or wouldn't give you the body that you were looking for, and you'd only have to do a hard exercise to get there?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I've got a finite amount of time, and I want to get fit. I want to get into my trousers. So I'm being totally honest here. This is not how I think anymore. So why would I do yoga? Because in my mind, yoga was slow. It was boring. It was a little bit hippie-ish. It just wasn't for me at all. Also, I thought. And I was actually at a music festival. I was working at a music festival in Meyerhofen, and it's like a ski and music festival. Not much skiing happened. Only going out and partying.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was. So I got invited to go to this festival, and the person that sort of we met at the airport was helping his friend out with taking artists, and I managed to get myself on the artist bus somehow, and we just started talking. I sat in the front, and we just started talking about life, the universe. It got onto subjects of yoga, and he was saying how he loved yoga and how it helped him with I think it was an injury he had. And I was like, sounds great, but yoga's not for me, and sort of listed all the reasons why. And Andy, who basically he was the start of my yoga journey, he's a good friend now, and he was saying,
it's crazy. You find that one person in your life that just turns your life.
Flip, a 180. And he was like, where do you live? And I was like, I live in Notting Hill. And he was like, there's a yoga studio I think you should try. It's called Jivamukti, and it's a combination of obviously yoga, it's proper yoga, but it's quite dynamic, but also it's music. Music is a big part of the practice. So I'm sure you'll love it. Promise me that you'll try it. And it's right in Notting Hill, Kensal Green. So I was like, okay. I was like, promise me you'll try it. Anyway, I did, and it completely changed my view of yoga, and also I felt amazing. So I had this physical
and now
exercise.
I understand, because that was the first time when I did the class with you that there was that kind of music in a yoga environment, and I was just lying back and really appreciating it, really enjoying it. But now that makes sense. It kind of puts that piece of the puzzle.
That's where it came from, and loving music and working with music artists that and I've always felt that music is more than, having, enjoyment and sort of dancing. I mean, I felt like it did something to the soul. it brings people together, and music is really healing. So this combination of yoga, like a proper yoga practice, and music combined in this Jivamukti class was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then when I left the class, I was just like, wow, that's the first time in ages where I was only just focusing on what I was doing. And you know what it's like having a busy job, and maybe you've got everything that's going on. You'll never just focus on one thing. You're thinking about a million things. Mm-hmm. And it was such a relief and a release to just be focusing on my breath. The music was there. It was a dynamic practice. It did amazing things for my physical body. But the main thing was what it did for my mind.
I'm having so many conversations with people that have just had to invest in their mind and their well-being, and just take a few steps back from the just this crazy rat race that we're in. And literally stop and recoup and press that button, the reset button, and start to reassess. Exactly.
And I think we kind of pride ourselves, especially as women, we pride ourselves in doing so many things at once, and like, I'm so capable. And yes, we are super capable, but we need time for ourselves, and we need that time to kind of come into ourselves and spend some time which is just about us, so just about focusing on your emotional health, your mental health. And that's what yoga became to me, this pause in my life where it was just about being in that moment. And the yoga, obviously you practice yoga on the mat, but really it's about how you deal. The yoga happens in real life. So I definitely gradually was sort of a lot calmer.
Changed as a person. That's really interesting you say that, because I suppose I've always gone in and done it, but I've never adapted it to different parts. Maybe in some ways I've adapted it, but unconsciously, not consciously.
And it was completely unconscious, and it was not like one day I'm like this frantic person, and I mean I'm quite chilled anyway in a way, and then the next day I'm like this this guru floating around. It wasn't like that. It was just more sort of like gradually you're like, oh, I've dealt with that probably different than, or that's not irritating me as much, or and you just deal with things better, I think, and whether that's like family or friends or work situations or whatever. And I could really see that. So when I look back, I was like, oh, that's what it's all about. And as I said, it was quite gradual, but then it became quite obvious. And also it becomes quite addictive. Well, it was for me, like yoga became addictive, but like it's a good addiction, right? Because you're like, your endorphins are kicking, your parasympathetic nervous system is in play, so that's kind of your rest and recovery. You're not kind of in this frantic sympathetic nervous system state. So there's all these kind of amazing things that were happening to the body physiologically and biologically and chemically, but then also physically I was feeling stronger. I was feeling
going through a transformation.
Exactly. But I wasn't worried so much about, it's weird because I guess I wasn't worried so much about
the end result.
Yeah.
Normally you go and do exercise because you want to look a certain way, because you're told that that's the way that you need to look.
I remember once, and I think this was a real shift. I was doing like a triangle pose or something, and I remember looking at my arm and going, wow, that's an amazing arm. I'd never looked at my body in that way. Look at, my body previously and looked at it.
The defects.
Yeah. What you want to change, what you want to tighten. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I need to, I've been eating too much, whatever. That's still there, obviously, but it's a lot less. I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin, because it kind of, yoga is a spiritual practice, and people come into it for different reasons, and you don't have to be spiritual or religious or anything like that to practice yoga, but it does have an effect on you in that way. And I think, it was about me in many ways seeing who I really am. You forget that, and it's not all the labels that you put on yourself. It's like something a bit deeper, something a bit higher, and you forget. That's why you need to keep, that's why it's called a practice, right? You have to keep coming back to it.
That's such an achievement. I think people are on their journeys, and to reach a stage where you reached, where you were able to turn your life around essentially and make it better and make yourself a happier person, that's an achievement in itself.
Definitely a more grounded and a more content person, I guess. I mean, I'm quite grounded. I'm quite earthy. I'm an earth sign, so I'm quite earthy anyway, and relatively chilled. Although I do get annoyed, of course. But yeah, it definitely did. You could see the change and definitely feel the kind of, I'm not getting so.
So tell me a little bit about living in NW10 and living in this area.
Yeah.
What do you love about it?
I love the fact that I've got so many friends that are just 5 minutes away. It's just, or less sometimes, just around the corner. It's such an amazing community. So I used to live in Notting Hill, Westbourne Park, and I love Notting Hill. And there's like this joke that if people in Notting Hill never leave Notting Hill, they don't have passports.
It seems that they move outwards.
But it got to a point where it's like, oh, I want a bit more space, and I can't afford to live in Notting Hill and get buy a bigger space and have a garden. And so I didn't really know anything about Kensal, because if you live in Notting Hill, you don't go further
than the Harrow Road.
Right? And I had a couple of friends here, so occasionally I'd be here. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to look in NW10 maybe. But it's like, how long does it take to get to the Portobello Road? Anyway, I ended up moving, found the flat that I loved, like perfect flat, really liked the street, was very lucky. And not only were a lot more people than I realised that I knew lived here, but then more people started moving here from other parts, Notting Hill. And it's just like this really lovely community.
It's such a great community, and it's so something which is quite hard to find. And I've found moving out, because I just did exactly the same journey, funnily enough.
Really?
Notting Hill out into NW10, and now we're even further out in NW2 because of the house, the garden, Gladstone Park. But it is a gradual journey. But I think this part of Northwest London, the Northwest 2, Northwest 10, there's just such a sense of community. Absolutely. And you get friends, and you just start having your local hangouts.
Yeah, and we made friends, which isn't often happens, especially in London, where you actually meet people, start chatting. I love it because I walk out. I have a dog, so I walk outside, go for a walk with the dog. There's needs to be about 4 or 5 people I know, whether if it's like my dentist or the guy that runs the corner shop or whoever, or friends, and it's just that real sense of belonging.
Yes,
it's
that
really,
sense
really
of home.
Nice. Yeah, a sense of home. Yeah.
What are your plans for the future? What are the next steps for Keri?
Okay, so I'm talking about local. I teach at a studio up the road, which you've been to. It's called Graceland's Yard, which is amazing, owned by lovely Kirsty. So I teach there. So I want to continue teaching there. Everything's gone online now.
Yes. Are you going to go online?
Yeah. So for the next few weeks, hopefully it's not too long. I'm going to go online, and so We Are Boogie Sound is my brand, so my yoga brand, so music and yoga as this symbiotic relationship. So it's not a case of just put on a playlist. I really think about the music and how the relationship with the music enhances the yoga experience. And often, and this is how I prefer to do it, is I work with musicians or DJs. So it's a live experience.
Exciting.
Yeah, so it's
That's
amazing.
Fantastic. And do you intend to do that? So you'll have live DJs, live musicians, and teach yoga with... Awesome.
So that is what I was doing before. We went into this period of life, so I was doing quite a lot of that. So I did stuff at the Ace Hotel, Ministry.
I didn't get to do that.
Pop-ups. Now we've taken some of it online, so I work with a couple of great musicians and DJs. A friend of mine called Bert, who's an amazing artist and DJ, and an amazing musician, composer, DJ called Secret. So sometimes we do a Instagram live, or a brand might get us involved in something, so it does translate online, but obviously the live experience is so much I mean, it's live, but I mean, in person, in a room experience.
The physical, yes.
This makes such a difference, especially when you've got amazing room, amazing acoustics and stuff. But we have done some things live streaming, so that has been cool. So I want to do a lot more of that. Mm-hmm. And for me, We Are Boogie Sound is, it's real yoga. It's not reductive in any way, like proper yoga, respecting the lineage. I've had amazing teachers, combining the music. But as well, what's really important is that, I wasn't into yoga, and there's lots of people that wouldn't try yoga for a whole range of reasons. They don't feel like they're fit enough or bendy enough, or they can't do touch their toes and all that kind of thing. It doesn't feel diverse or inclusive to some people. So for me, it's really important that and this kind of helps. I think the music aspect of what I do really helps as well, because people kind of reappraise what they think yoga is about, and they're like, oh, you play music in a class, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, I love music, so maybe I'll give it a try. Or I'll say, it doesn't really matter what fitness level you are. You can, I teach sometimes a very hard asana class, but we can make the class. I teach a beginners class, fundamentals class, so. It can change their lives just like it changed yours. Exactly. And I feel like I was speaking to somebody earlier, the core of yoga is meditation. So yoga is a moving meditation. So it's about breathing, the connection between the breath and the movement of the body, which can do amazing things for your mind, as you said. And I kind of feel that's everybody's universal right to have that, because it is, it can really change so much for your mental, emotional health, how you deal with things, everything, especially now. So I just want people to not just go beyond the barriers of, what you might think yoga is or isn't, because it could be amazing for you. But there's loads of...
And that's a powerful message.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm really inspired by my yoga teacher, Stuart Gilchrist, who's really he's an amazing activist. He talks about diversity, inclusion. I mean, he's amazing. So I'm sort of inspired by that to have those conversations in the yoga class. And yoga is for everyone, and they're all different types of yoga as well. Like my yoga is relatively dynamic, although I do beginners classes. But there's yin yoga. There's Iyengar yoga. There's obviously teachers teach in slightly different ways, so I just encourage people to
explore, and it's a new world.
Exactly. And it might be just
dip their toes in and see if they like it.
Exactly. Breathing classes, meditation, like Wim Hof basically is based on...
he's amazing.
It's based on yoga.
I know.
I mean, it is a yoga. Sound meditation, so gong therapy. I mean, there's so many things that can really help. So I just kind of want to open people's minds, maybe, that think it's not for me for whatever reason.
Keri, you've been amazing. I love the message that you're trying to get across to people and what you're doing. So thank you so much for talking to me today. It's
pleasure.
Been, as I said, it's been really inspirational. Thank you.
I hope to see you at my next class.
Absolutely. Online.
And follow me at We Are Boogie Sound on Instagram.
We Are Boogie Sound. Follow Keri at We Are Boogie Sound on Instagram. Thanks, Keri.
Bye. Thank you.